guys, what is going on? So if you haven't pieced it together yet, or if you're wondering, these two fine gentlemen behind me were meeting tonight because these are the guys that we are going to do the documentary with. Super pumped on that, of course, and it's so much fun to get together and just kind of hash out stuff, brainstorm, bounce ideas off of each other. It's been a complete blast. But that documentary we are shooting on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema, which we bought because we sold the GH5s. And if you've seen the title, well, that's why we're here today. I'm going to talk about why I sold the GH5s. All right, guys, and we are back in the office. So tonight totally got away from me. It was an amazing night. Sat down with the guys. We were just scheming, planning, brainstorming. So pumped for this documentary and so pumped to shoot it on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K camera. It's going to just be incredible, guys. I'm just so hyped. And ultimately, tonight got away from me, and I really just wanted to talk about why I sold the GH5s. I talked about it in episode 0, but that was like just a crazy long vlog. To any of those of you who actually watched all of that, tip my hats to you, because by the end of it I was like, I can't even believe that this is that long. But I was so excited to share stuff with you guys, I just kept talking. So anyway, tonight I just wanted to quickly, short and sweetly reiterate why we decided to basically swap the GH5s for the Blackmagic, and just cut straight to the point, give you guys the information that you needed in this episode so that we can crash, go to sleep, give you guys that information, and then see you in the next vlog. So with that being said, let's just talk about the GH5s, what I liked about it, what I disliked about it, and ultimately why I felt like I needed to go with the Blackmagic. First question you guys are probably wondering is, Jake, did you hate the GH5s? Now, I think this is a pretty logical question. You know, did I dislike the GH5s question? And to answer that, the answer is no. I didn't hate it. I didn't dislike it. There was a few things that I didn't love about it, but ultimately, when it's all said and done, that camera was awesome. I really enjoyed using it, and I was very impressed with the image that I was getting from it. A few reasons that we'll talk about here in a second. Ultimately, it was just not quite there for me in terms of the kind of performance and overall image that I was wanting to get out of my next sort of cinema camera that I wanted. And we'll kind of talk about that in a second, and sort of, again, why we went with the Blackmagic. And I'm just so pumped on this camera every time I use it, and I keep wanting to use it more and more, but it needs to be rigged out, which should be coming next episode. Can't wait to talk about that. But ultimately, just discussing why, you know, the GH5s wasn't enough. Let's talk about that. So did I dislike it? No. Great color. Super great battery life, very portable. Overall, just really loved how flat the log was that it came with. Loved the dual ISO. The only really sort of like big gotcha that I found with the GH5s was really having a hard time exposing for slow motion. Slow motion was just kind of tough. And again, when you're shooting, you want to not be able to necessarily have to always 100% of the time nail every single shot. And with the GH5s, it felt like I had to get those slow motion shots perfect for there not to be a ton of noise in the image. Now, funnily enough, if you shot in 24p or 60p, I talked about it in the video, it looked great. It was a great camera, it shot great results, so it was just kind of the slow motion that was a little finicky for me, and really that was like my only beef. Otherwise, loved the camera, thought it was great, and I would recommend it to anyone. It just doesn't fit my use case for this channel and for my goals as a filmmaker moving forward. So let's talk about that. So we ended up going with the Blackmagic. Why did we do it? Well, there's definitely some things about this camera that suck. Its battery life sucks compared to the GH5s. It has no autofocus, which depending on who you are, that can suck. As a filmmaker though, you really shouldn't be relying on autofocus too much. Unless you're rocking Canon cameras, then use autofocus. But otherwise you should be mostly manually focusing if you're doing cinematography. Anyway, main reasons why I went with this camera and ultimately sold the GH5s. The first one being shooting RAW. As someone who ultimately wants to make a documentary here in the near future and really just wants to make short films and really work on my ability to be a quote-unquote filmmaker, not just a YouTuber, but a filmmaker, it felt strange paying the same amount of money for the GH5s when I could pay the same amount for a tool, the Blackmagic, that shoots RAW so that I can A, practice editing RAW, and B, just get used to storing RAW and manipulating RAW and just having all of those huge file sizes and just getting used to it, right? That's good practice for the industry to know how to handle RAW video. And so I really wanted that in my repertoire. Also, RAW video just allows you to edit the colors and all the exposure so much more than you could with really any other codec. And that just has me pumped, right? Being able to take an image from this camera and play with it until it's just absolutely perfect, the most cinematic. That's what has me psyched. So the GH5s shot 10-bit, which is a really beefy codec. It made for some huge file sizes and was really good, but comparing it already to the results that I'm seeing in RAW, it just still pales in comparison to shooting RAW video. So that was the main reason. The other reason, although it's kind of a pain and you need to sort of accessorize and add stuff to this camera, being able to own a piece of kit where I can practice that, buying cages, buying mounts, buying batteries and all that stuff is really good practice, because that's what cinema cameras do in the real world. When you buy a Red camera, you are literally buying basically what you buy with the Blackmagic, which is just the brain, the sensor, and the body, and then you have to buy the batteries and you have to buy all the accessories, and you really get to make it your own. The Blackmagic in a lot of ways is the same thing. Sure, out of the box, if you've got a lens, you can shoot video with this, but it's really crippled by its battery life, and there's just a lot that you can really tack on over time and really kind of build up that cinematography profile and turn this camera into just a beast, which I'm so excited for. I'm so excited to basically learn how to rig and kit a camera, because it doesn't just have everything straight out of the box. So then the last reason, let's hit on it real quick, and then I am getting out of here, guys. All in all, and I kind of talked about this earlier, the quality of image coming out of the GH5s just didn't quite get there for me. Sure, it looks phenomenal. It's amazing by almost any standard. Like if that was your YouTube daily driver, like you are rocking a cream of the crop image. It looks fantastic. But compared to the Blackmagic and what I've seen people do with the Blackmagic and what I've been able to do with just my short time of practicing and getting used to this camera, right out of the box, I am blown away with the image that is coming off of this camera. For what you pay, and like Potato Jet, I don't know if you guys watch him, I'll maybe link his channel down below. He's huge. Definitely go check him out. He did a whole comparison between this camera and a Red, and the difference was pretty surprising. There's really not a ton of difference, and that's exactly why I want this camera so bad. Was the GH5s just was not quite there as far as cinematic film looking imagery, which is exactly what you're getting out of the Blackmagic. So that was kind of the last big sort of, I just need a little more firepower if I really want to go for this and make a movie and also do professional client work in the future. So, but anyway, guys, that is all I have for you tonight. I am getting out of here because I got to go quickly edit this, and then we've got another vlog that I'm going to try and pump out and get filmed tomorrow. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Again, one thing that I will say before I go really quick, of course, the GH5s is a great camera. The Blackmagic is an amazing camera. I'm not recommending one over the other. It really depends on your use case. If you're wanting to just have like a professional YouTube studio, the GH5s might make more sense. It just depends on your use case. It really just depends on what you want to do. For me, my use case, wanting to make my own documentary and movies in the future, this camera, in my mind, made more sense. And that's why ultimately I was on the fence, bought the GH5s, decided to sell it because it wasn't quite checking all of those boxes, and just kind of looking ahead at what the next several months has in store, it made sense to make that switch. So I'm not saying one way or the other. If you're in my situation, of course, do this. Use this camera. This camera is insane. I would absolutely recommend it. But everyone's situation is different, and it's kind of hard to gauge. But yeah, that's all I'll say. Anyway, I'm getting out of here. Love you guys. Thank you so much for the love and support. If you like what I'm doing, hit that like button. Consider subscribing. We're going to do lots more Blackmagic content in the future. Rigging this baby out, image quality tests, usability, buttons, using it, all that stuff will come in future vlogs and future videos. I'm just so excited. That is all. And don't forget, as always, that creativity comes from constraint. And I will catch you guys in the next one. See ya.